Hello everyone. We will get right back to that second episode about the industrial and futuristic civilizations of the Witness Island next up, and then after that we're gonna do the Gangaji theater video. We're gonna do the puzzles in the town, etc., etc. But first, I want to make this very quick video to tell you about some amazing new videos that other people have produced about the Witness. Some of these you might have heard of; they're from way back, but others are brand new, and it's really good. So I'm going to talk about kind of like you guys have watched however many episodes of Examining the Witness, and there's some other nice analysis that people have produced about the game that I think together paints a really complete picture. So I'll talk about some of those things. And then at the end of the video, I have some updates about like the future of the channel and some other things that I've been working on recently and things like that. So yeah, that's what I would like to share with you. So the first of these videos, and the one that's brand new, is called Drawing the Line, and it has just been uploaded recently, and I'll put a big link to it on screen so you guys can all just click over to it and go over to it right now. I really loved it. It's the kind of thing that I've like always wanted to make for The Witness, which is like a kind of more, rather than just like a rambly exposition, like a really artful collage of different influences and things, and of course it has like a totally different perspective on things, but I don't want to spoil the video too much. So basically it just like comes with my highest recommendation. Go watch Drawing the Line, and then we'll come back to I'll talk about it a little bit later after I go through some of these other recommendations, but it's really awesome, so you should totally check it out. Another video, and one that you may have seen before, but is kind of essential watching, is The Unbearable Now by Electron Dance. This is like a super stylish video. It's very clever. It has like fancy video editing. It has great music. And also, in addition to analyzing the themes of the game, it also narrates the players, the kind of like first-time player experience in a fun way. Unbearable Now is such a good video that it basically originally inspired this series, partly as kind of a reaction against it, because there's this standard take on The Witness that a lot of people have when they think it's possible to analyze games at all, or for games to have themes at all. Then they will often have some variation on a take where like either The Witness is like paradoxical, it's like a koan, or it's meaningless, or like the meaning is that it has no meaning or something like that, or else the game will be like it's about the search for truth, but like just in the abstract. It's just about the search for truth. There's no discernible details or divisions or content beyond that. It's just about capital T truth, but like not any particular truths. So I've been kind of like pushing back against that in all of these Examining the Witness videos that I've been making by trying to catalog all of the little concrete details throughout the game. Of course, it's correct that in the big picture the game is about the search for truth, and it's also correct that The Witness has a bunch of paradoxical koan-like aspects to it, like the layers of story that I've been talking about in the civilizational. It's like the game has this meta story about being made by some VR developers and stuff, and then how does that mesh with the story of the civilization, and just in terms of the game design. So there's a lot to the kind of standard take, even though my videos are kind of a reaction against it. The Unbearable Now video is like by far the best and most stylish and fun to watch version of that koan-like perspective on the game. I owe Unbearable Now a really big debt of gratitude. It helped me see the strangeness of the island anew. Like, I remember that Unbearable Now video talking about how the wires are kind of carelessly draped everywhere all over things, like putting this like weird tangle all over this like pristine architecture. When you get up to the mountain, that's clearly like everyone recognizes that the theme of kind of like accomplishment and like all the lasers coming together. But then the Electron Dance video points out that there's like equally strong symbolism of like descending through this creepy lab, and then like being in this room that's kind of like heaven and hell themed, and then in what he calls the drowned cathedral, and then you get in the elevator, which is like closes like a little cage around you, pointing out the unsettling elements of that ending, which I think I, as well as other players, might breeze through without picking up on in their excitement to get to the end of the game. I think Unbearable Now really cracked the case on the proper interpretation of the like Warp Gate hotel ending, where you get that like funny like full motion video at the end filmed by Jonathan Blow, and I was very confused by that when I played the game myself, and then upon watching the Unbearable Now video I was like totally it's like a commentary that the game is like a failed experiment because the experiment was supposed to produce enlightenment, but you just get this person who's like tapping circles. They're like obsessed with circles, just like how on the Witness Reddit everybody's like posting stuff about seeing circles and lines everywhere. They're not posting stuff about Advaita Vedanta or whatever. So anyways, that's Unbearable Now, and I think it's a great video that you should watch if you haven't seen it already. And then our third video that is fun viewing for analysis of the Witness is a series actually called Underneath the Witness, and I'll link to that as well. And this one is fun because it's filmed super beautifully using like some kind of Noclip tools for zooming around and getting really close to the insides of objects and getting like interesting perspectives, and so it has this like beautiful kind of choreography, I guess, to the filming of it, or cinematography, and it also it's like trying to go through area by area and comment on the details of the different zones, sort of like in my videos, only it's scripted unlike my videos, so that's kind of nice, and it's just like very soothing. It's just like, I don't know, there's something about it. They're very enjoyable to watch. I think maybe similarly to my videos, it's kind of like listing like, here are all my ideas about this zone, of which some of them might seem more believable to you than others. So there's some things in the Underneath the Witness video where I'm like, like you might just be imagining that, just like you might feel watching my videos. But I also I learned a lot about the areas covered, and I liked the perspective on kind of like what sort of what the buildings were originally used for, what the agricultural and symmetry area were all about, things like that. Okay, and then my final big recommendation is that you guys should play The Looker. This isn't a video, but it is free, unlike most video games. And I do totally plan to make an episode all about The Looker eventually, but you know, I might not get to it. There's a lot of episodes. I think it's really worth playing. I really enjoyed it. And I also think that, like, of course I would think this, but I also think that it's actually interesting game design. It's clearly made by somebody who really loves The Witness, and also who like understands The Witness. And the fact that it's like a game that it's intelligently parodying another game, like that's just kind of rare. I guess like Spec Ops parodies Uncharted, you know, the games do this stuff once in a while, but compared to something like Taiji, which I've made a video on, Taiji is almost kind of like a fan, like sort of like remix of the ideas of The Witness into like its own kind of similar puzzle solving adventure, versus because The Looker is like it's like really doing like game design commentary, and we'll get into this more when I make the actual video on it. But like one thing is, just as an example, the mechanic where you're drawing the lines in The Looker is like this wacky like MS Paint type thing where you move your mouse and it draws like a physical, like very badly drawn line, and everyone recognizes that that's like very funny. But I think that it's interesting to think about the jokes in The Looker in detail and kind of explain the joke to yourself and think about why it's funny. In the case of the line drawing, it's like, well, because it's so, all the pixels there are really ugly in the MS Paint line, and it's like, well, like, why is it ugly? It's because it's like this unnecessary amount of detail, because what you're really interested in is like the abstract thing, like the path that you're taking to get from the start to the end point, and not in like the wacky, you know, the clumsiness with which you manipulate the mouse. And so just by playing the Looker, you know, you realize like all these design decisions that The Witness made the way it did in order to create a kind of calming and clarifying atmosphere, and then The Looker deliberately inverts those to create comic effect everywhere. So anyways, it's hilarious, it's interesting, and it is free, so you should download it and play it. There's like a bunch of other games that have kind of adopted a visual style similar to The Witness. Viewfinder, Botany Manor, Maquette, this game called Credulous that is like just totally trying to rip off the game, other things, but but they're like kind of questionable as puzzle games, and they mostly just have in common the visual style. So yeah, definitely try out the Looker. Okay, so back to talking about that original video, Drawing the Line, that's just been uploaded. This is your final like spoiler warning. It's like a super good video, so you should just like pause this, go watch that whole thing, and then come back here if you want to. So go watch it now. I really love this. Like Unbearable Now, it's like causing me to have all these thoughts about kind of different ways of thinking about the game or different perspectives on the game, and by implication about life and the philosophical ideas raised by the game. And one reason why we're hanging around in these underground caves here is because it really leans on the idea of kind of like Gnosticism. And I haven't actually seen Knight of Cups, but I'm a huge fan of the other Terrence Malick movies, Thin Red Line and Tree of Life. Watching this Drawing the Line video has gotten me super hyped to see Knight of Cups. The idea that we forget the true world of spirit and have our perception veiled by the material world, and we're trying to like escape, to like break out of this false reality and get back to what's true. I have not emphasized that much in my coverage of the game, because The Witness seems like it's just like so big on clarity, everything's like so sunny, and it almost feels like it's going for like a realer than real type thing. The frame story of the game is that we're all like, it's all in some kind of brain interface VR coma that's like a simulation to try and induce enlightenment in the people who are doing these experiments. The Witness really is about like trying to break out to some higher level of truth, and even aside from the meta story, the overall theme of the game is like trying to almost like break out of our own perspective, right? And see, like trying to understand the fundamental nature of things, or understand our place in the world, or break through the Great Wall that Kuza talks about, that kind of like infinitely high wall. So that like Gnostic element to The Witness was really interesting, but also it just as a way of commenting on the game, or of like appreciating and communicating art. It's the kind of thing that I like would like to do but am bad at doing. And so I think I'll just read my like gushing email that I sent to the author of the video after they let me know that they had uploaded it. I said, "I'm such an analytical guy. In my Examining the Witness videos, I naturally always try and systematize everything and ramble to exhaustion, trying to tie everything together explicitly in some kind of galaxy-brained mandala structure of formal connections. I feel like you are drawing the line as such a perfect counterpoint to that tendency, and illustrates so beautifully some of the things that I most love about the game and wish I could communicate. I love how it expresses the ways that art operates on so many different levels, often not consciously recognized, but which come together to create the overall intended experience, and how it expresses the unique kind of thoughtfulness that goes into both creating and contemplating art. I love how your video evokes the kind of interconnectedness or overflowing richness of life, where ideas, even within a single artwork, but especially within a whole human life, are never fully contained and delineated and defined, but they're a flowing web of associations that reaches out. And they're like referencing other artistic influences, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not, or just evoking memories and sparking connections within the person viewing the art, such that nothing can ever be truly self-contained or standalone, and nothing can be, in a certain sense, complete. Like, it's all just this world of influences, and people can try and package things up to like create like a complete standalone work of art, but like at the end of the day, in the final analysis, like it's all just these kind of cultural influences that we're like adrift in, that are all touching each other and sparking new things, and no one of those things can embrace the full richness of life, because nothing in the world can contain the whole world. It's just like different perspectives, individual moments, and that's kind of tragic in a way, which is maybe why I'm always reaching for the like crazy formalized mandala of everything connected. But it's also awe-inspiring because it creates this rich web of human experience that you could never possibly hold in mind all at once, or even like be traversed by one person even in a lifetime, or in 1,000 lifetimes. Like this drawing the line video is a hook into a bunch of other just like fascinating artworks that are totally new to me. Like I'm excited to listen to like talks about classical music and stuff. Like I don't know anything about music. I've read Gödel Escher Bach. I know that there's a bunch of people who are hyped about music theory and all the complexities and symmetries and things that good music can evoke. But you know, that's just something that's like not part of my life. Seeing all the connections, seeing like someone come to the game from such a totally like a different mix of influences and connections and things, like Finnegan's Wake, is really interesting and creates a kind of inspiring picture of like there's all this stuff out there, you know. I also love just the atmosphere of the video. It's kind of like restful, thoughtful. I feel like I was like sort of rushing, but also sort of meandering through these videos, trying to mention everything. But the whole sort of meditative Terrence Malick atmosphere is really great and suits the island really nicely. I loved how Drawing the Line, as the sense of melancholy and tentativeness, kind of connected to those Gnostic themes, like a sort of lostness to the game, because you're, no matter how nice the island is, you're sort of trapped in this fake reality, even the fake reality of real life, right? Like, we don't really know what our place is. The Witness comes across as so like triumphantly optimistic to me, and then also the game design, in addition to the themes, the game design is always trying to emphasize like maximum clarity. It's trying to have the puzzles be as clear as possible and like communicate all this nonverbal stuff to the player. Everything's like super brightly saturated all the time in the mid-morning sun. All of that like optimism and clarity does a good job communicating the game's message of like ambition and encouragement, and like some of the stuff that I've been talking about in the civilizational videos. Like, it's trying to like inspire people towards thinking about the big picture and thinking it's achievable. But arguably that's kind of unrepresentative of real human experience, right? Where we're often lost and confused, and it's uncertain whether we'll be able to make it to that inspiring utopian future or not. So I felt that this video, Drawing the Line, had more of the feeling of like the underground river flowing through the Challenge Caves, or the somber kind of like heaven and hell themed chambers right before the elevator in the mountain, or like walking through little forest paths and stuff. I really like that kind of more somber perspective on the game. Of course, the music is really nice. Like, both the Electron Dance video and Drawing the Line have really nice music in it. So I was a really big fan of that. One of the things that I most love about The Witness, and that I try and express through making these videos, or just like one of the reasons that I like making videos about The Witness and just hanging out on the island and thinking about it, is how the game provides a kind of model of the good life, or the examined life, where the island is like this place of like equanimity and repose, where you're amidst this mix of philosophical ideas and cultural influences and architectural styles and like the different game design elements and stuff, and the different ecological biomes, and you're considering all these different artistic and spiritual and scientific concepts, and you're trying to understand the human condition, and in a certain way you're just kind of trying to make the most of life, like live life to the fullest in like a certain kind of artistic or philosophical sense. I don't know, I guess I feel like I don't talk enough about that in the video. I mean, not to make them even longer, but I always just end up laser focused on analyzing the like thematic content TM of the game, and like the details, and like what particular philosophical ideas are going on. But really the reason why I love the game is kind of the the atmosphere of it. Precisely because I worry that if I started talking about all the influences that I would put into a drawing the line style collage video, like go to Lesher Bach, like the Glenstone Museum in Maryland, the Sagrada Familia Cathedral in Barcelona, like EA stuff and rationalist stuff like the Yudkowsky sequences, movies like Upstream Color, seeing the 2017 solar eclipse, like just like personal experiences, and just like on, then everything would just spiral out into this endless landscape of like concepts and emotions, and you know, to do justice to that, I wouldn't just be able to ramble pointlessly for hours and hours and fail to communicate the core thing. I would have to create some sort of like elaborate, artful video collage that would like somehow kind of try and draw all those things together. So I have always wanted to do that, and so seeing somebody else do that in the form of drawing the line was really exciting, because that's precisely what we've got here. So anyways, that's just me gushing over that video. I loved it a lot, and I would love to hear your take on it, I guess, in the comments of that video, if comments are enabled on it, or else here if they're not. Alrighty, so that's all I've got for like fan analysis style videos. A few other things that I'll quickly mention that are like nice kind of sources or things to watch are, there's a great interview between Jonathan Blow, of course, and Brian Moriarty, who's in the Secret of Psalm 46 video. He's the guy who wrote and presented that speech. So that's really interesting, and Moriarty asked like a bunch of super good questions to Jonathan Blow about the design of the game and kind of like his game design history and stuff. There's a few other things. There's a documentary, I think by a YouTube channel called Noclip, about The Witness, and then there's a bunch of other, obviously Jonathan Blow has like a billion like podcasts and presentations and interviews and stuff, most of which are like kind of similar because he's talking about game designy stuff, or he has some presentations that are interesting. If you've read Italo Calvino books, he has like a presentation on Italo Calvino. I think in particular, I remember a long time ago he had a 2-part podcast with a group called the Buddhist Geeks, which was quite good because most of Jonathan Blow's interviews and stuff are like with game designers or with game players, and so they're all about game design and development. But this was totally from like a spiritual religious perspective. So he talks about like non-duality and just those. He talks about the influences on Braid and The Witness in a kind of more in-depth way, or a way that isn't reflected in some of his other appearances. So that's that with all those interviews and sources and things. Now for the promised update on the future of the channel. I wanted to mention the kind of roadmap of future episodes. I mean, basically, I just want to make some more Edith Finch episodes and then finish doing the Witness episodes. We got the Civilizational one, part 2. We've got the town, which will probably be 2 episodes because there's a lot of stuff in the town, so maybe one will be like puzzle focused and then another more about the story and the buildings and stuff. Then there's the Gangaji video, and then there's like all of the end game stuff, of which there's a huge amount because there's all this stuff underground that we've been walking through in this video. And there's like the Secret of Psalm 46 video, and there's the multiple endings to the game. So I will try and legit finish the mountain and elevator ending, like getting to the mountain, going down through the lab, and then taking the elevator, and kind of examining all that stuff in detail. But all the like kind of bonus content, blooper cave stuff, and things like that, like no promises yet, we'll get to it if we get to it. Then finally, every once in a while I mention how I am a fan of like effective altruist rationalist type stuff. A while ago, I was involved in a contest by an organization called the Future of Life Institute to imagine like positive futures for where like humanity develops like very powerful artificial intelligence of the sort that you might be worried might end the world. But amazingly, we managed to like do everything right, and the world does not end, and like humanity is living okay with AI. That was like the boundary conditions of the contest, and then the contest was like, tell us a story in which AI is safely developed and it's like has an optimistic kind of utopian outcome for humanity. And it was sort of like a fiction writing thing. You had to come up with a timeline, you had to write some short stories connected to it, and then answer a bunch of short answer questions and things. And they even put together a podcast interview with me and a friend of mine who helped with the story writing and stuff. And that is out now on the Future of Life Institute like podcast feed. So I'll link to the YouTube video of our interview for our scenario, and you guys can also go check out the original stuff with all the FAQs about our imagined future world and stuff like that. And I think it might be interesting for people here because first of all, because every once in a while I allude to like having political opinions or sort of effective altruist rational opinions, and if you want to know more about those, then you can see that. Second, I've been talking about the civilizations of the Witness and how the Witness has this kind of optimistic vision for the future of civilization, and I think optimistic visions for the future of civilization are a little rare, and it would be nice if we had more of them. So yeah, I mean, I tried to have my scenario that I worked on with 4 other people. I was sort of like the leader of the project, and we had like an artist who created a really sweet poster and everything, but tried to have our scenario, you know, it's largely about AI and how AI might impact the future, but it's also about all sorts of other like things that I find inspiring, things that could shape the future, like charter cities and like improved methods of voting, like political reforms, like Georgism and YIMBYism, and all sorts of other neat things. So if you like listening to videos by me and you're interested in hearing one that's more politically or sci-fi or real-world news relevant compared to philosophical meanderings on this island of repose and equanimity, then feel free to go check that out. But either way, I will see you next time on Examining the Witness.